The GTX 970 released on September 18th, 2014. This is a GTX 970. Specifically, it's a PNY 970. It's one of the only 970s to launch very close to the $329 MSRP of the 970. And that MSRP was for the reference design. And like the reference design, this is a very similar design to it. It's a blower style cooler. Now, granted, they're completely different blower style coolers. The blower on this card isn't quite as good as the reference design, but it is lighter and cheaper to manufacture. While not allowing the card to thermal throttle, the card does perform, thermally all right. Except the card costs the same amount of money or more as the reference card, depending on where you got it. This one makes me think quite a few questions. Who was this card for? Can it still play games? Why did I buy one? Where did it come from? Where did it go? Cotton-eyed Joe. This card is a PNY card, but I already said that, so it obviously came from PNY factory. But as far as I could tell, this card might have been sold through every retailer under the sun, including Walmart, Newegg, just whoever, right? This card was either commissioned by Dell or sold by Dell, an absolute ton of them for their pre-builds. It was actually listed as an appropriate upgrade or an approved upgrade for the Alienware, was it the X51R2? It was the smaller, compact Alienware that they released. Matter of fact, I haven't seen any in recent future. I wonder if they got discontinued. But anyway, that's how I first got one. Because I had originally owned one of these cards that I had purchased for my Alienware pre-built in 2014, but that wasn't this identical card. I bought it for a couple of main reasons, or this specific card I bought for some few reasons. One, blower style coolers can be probably the best option in form factor cases without a lot of airflow because they don't require a lot going on and they can exhaust air from basically nothing. They don't need a whole lot of air going in. They don't need a whole lot of space. They're fairly compact. And two, I'm going to pit this $75 used card against the $200 brand new RX 6500 XT in a future video to make a point. Now, can this almost 8-year-old graphics card still game? Well, this was the first generation of graphics card to support DirectX 12, natively speaking, so this will actually be kind of interesting. As always, the test bench includes 7, 12, 700K, 32 gigs of DDR5 at 5600, 1000 watt Platinum power supply. Any bottlenecks? If my PC can bottleneck a 970, I will throw my PC out, run it over with my bucket truck, and buy a faster one. But let's see how it does. One of the main problems with this card was the 3.5 gigs of usable VRAM. Even though it technically has 4, there are 4 gigs of VRAM on this chip. The RAM is segmented into, I think, half gig sections, and that last half a gig wasn't integrated properly onto the PCB, so if you end up trying to use that, you will run into the same issues that you would if you were running 11, using 11 gigs on a 12 gig card. Same problem. The RAM, that last half a gig is just extremely slow, so if you use it, you run into issues with extremely slow memory. Which I ran into this issue several times running my 3D Mark benchmarks. That was Time Spy Extreme, and Fire Strike Ultra all had this problem, which makes sense. Those are meant for higher end cards. The other Fire Strikes ran fine. On Fire Strike and Fire Strike Extreme, we scored 96, 76, and 44, 91, respectively. And moving over from synthetic to real-world benchmarks, Call of Duty Cold War managed a stable 50 FPS on average at medium to low settings at 1080p. We also got a minimum or a 1% low of 35 and a high of 74. It's a very respectable, very playable experience. That's not, esports level. If you're trying to get competitive with this game, definitely grab a better card or lower the settings. But it's playable, it's doable. And Cyberpunk 2077 scared me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. We did manage though to get 27 FPS on average at ultra settings 1080p with a minimum of 12.5 and a maximum of 43. So this is one of those games, just lower the settings a little bit down to, maybe down from ultra to high to get probably a rock solid stable 30, or down a little bit to maybe medium or low to get a solid 60. And you have a very playable experience. Moving on to Enlisted, which is a free-to-play shooter that, I personally rather enjoy. At the default ultra settings, we scored a very playable average of 60 FPS with a few dips when things got crazy. But along with those 60 FPS, we also got 21 as our 1% low and 81 as our high. So this was actually a very playable experience. And what you're seeing is actually that's the gameplay that we recorded, and it was incredible. It got a little slow and a little chuggish at points, but it was playable. It was doable. That was crazy. So can this card still game? Yes. Yes, it can. And if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be seeing more of this card, including this card being featured in a budget gaming PC that will also have a 60 or 6500 XT. So subscribe for that. I'll see you guys in the next one.